The skies are blue. The Circuit de Catalunya has seldom looked better, and certainly for the Blancpain GT Sports Cup drivers, they're going out for their final qualifying session of the year. 5 rounds. We started at Misano, travelled in May to Brands Hatch, June to Paul Ricard, end of July ahead of the Spa 24 Hours to Spa-Francorchamps, are now here for the 5th and final round. Track temperature, you see, 30 degrees, humidity relatively low at 62%. We have 20 minutes to see who is going to go out and take the 5th and final pole position of the year. But this morning, after the 2 free practice sessions, we have a Chevrolet Corvette C6 ZR1 on the fastest time so far. Nicolas van Dierendonck, he's not at the very sharp end of the championship, but he was over 0.3 of a second clear. But already Michał Broniczewski has wrapped up the series. Look at that advantage, 81 points ahead of van Dierendonck, who was fastest this morning. So the Polish racer Broniczewski tidied up the championship last time out at Spa-Francorchamps. Right now it's all a question of prize. And of course we have several classes. We have the overall honours, we have Iron Cup for drivers aged 60 years and above, and the Extra Cup class for cars such as the Renault RS01. And this championship just coming to the end of its 2nd season. It's promoted by SRO for bronze only, that's amateur class drivers, and seen as an ideal stepping stone and proving ground between club competition and professional racing. And clearly in the form of the 2016 champion Michał Broniczewski, who is such a strong runner in Pro-Am in the full Blancpain GT series, we've got the proof that people can graduate from this to the big time. Good chance to see these cars out on the circuit, perfect conditions. This race last year we had 13 runners. Let's double that, call it 26. That's what we've got this time around. So who is going to go top? Drivers just getting their sighting laps. 2 free practice sessions earlier this afternoon, just after midday. They were out on the track. Car number 12, that's from the W Racing team. It's Jean-Michel Baer. He was down not right at the sharp end in the free practice sessions, but they know how the circuit is. They know how it now will start to consume their tyres, and they're going to have to get used to the outcome. A lot of Audis in this race, such a popular make of car, the R8 LMS, for drivers who are finding their feet. Such a kind car in terms of its racing handling. We have this weekend, to help us get up to the 26 cars, we have 5 new runners. Baporo Motorsport, a Spanish racing team, aboard a 458 Ferrari for Jaime Foncasas. Kessel Racing, Fons Chatelma, Dutch racer, also brought a Ferrari 458. Classic and Modern Racing, Eric Cairol has stepped into the red and white Ferrari. Great experience, mainly in the French GT scene. Ex-Bionic Racing team have brought another of the Lamborghinis, this time a Huracan, one of the new cars this season for Cedric Lima, the Swiss racer. And Monlo Competition, another Spanish team, has brought one of the new RS01 Renaults for Belgian racer Jurgen Smet. All eyes at the moment on the first driver out of the pits, which was car number 12 with Jean-Michel Baer from Belgium. Seeing what he can do, and the best speed so far this morning, 1 minute 51.7 seconds, and that was the car that makes the biggest rumble. I've just heard it past the commentary position. That is the big Chevrolet Corvette ZR1. In the hands of Celesier Racing Team, Nicolas van Dierendonck from Belgium. A lot of Belgian interest in this series. And why not? Of course, they enjoyed their race very much at Spa-Francorchamps. We've had 3 different winners for the first 4 rounds. Mario Cordoni won the opening round at Misano in his 458 AF Corsa entered Ferrari. Then rounds 2 and 4 went the way of this year's already grand champion Michał Broniczewski in his Kessel Racing Ferrari. And the other round, round 3, not so long ago at Paul Ricard, went to ACA ASP, Daniele Perfetti in a Mercedes. But there is Van Dierendonck, white with a big blue stripe up the middle. Celesier Racing Team, 1 minute 51.7, that was his best time this morning. Already been beaten big time from one of the 2 new cars. It's 5 new entries, and it's Cedric Lima in the ex-Bionic Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan, 1 minute 51.3, so straight onto the pace. Again, you can hear that wonderful rumbling engine note flaming out from that big Corvette. Looks unwieldy, but it's been so well sorted over the years, getting towards the end of its life. But in this championship, very, very effective indeed. 20 minutes of qualifying, and then on race Sunday we have, I should say races Sunday, because we have a 25 15-minute qualifying race just before noon tomorrow, and then after the main Blancpain GT Series race at 15:50, we go to their main race. 40 minutes for the Blancpain GT Sports Club. Such a good success, bringing on drivers, and very much a lot of them enjoying racing among fellow amateurs, and with the Iron Cup for drivers aged 60 and over, a good chance for some of the older drivers to get their glory. So the target time, 1 minute 51.3, and it looks with 2 purple times on the screen coming up to turn 13 on this 16-turn circuit that Nicolas van Dierendonck may be able to put that Chevrolet onto the top of the timesheet. He's getting rather blocked off there by the 177 von Scheltelmer, one of the new faces. Ferrari getting in his way a little bit with the teeth on the front of his Ferrari on their livery. And Van Dierendonck 1 minute 50.6 seconds. So the Belgian racer goes ahead of the Swiss racer, who is in the 963 Lamborghini Huracan. But can the Huracan fight back? And we're seeing also a quick lap coming from this driver, Mario Cordoni. He won the opening round in his AF Corsa Ferrari 458 Italia. He's had a purple sector time, but that's been taken away as the times are changing very quickly indeed. Eric Kyrol starting to fly. Up to second place goes Mario Cordoni, only 0.3 of a second down on Cedric Lima, who's just improved to 1 minute 50.1 second. The time keeps on falling. Eric Kyrol, so much experience in trench racing. Formula 3 to start with, then into sports cars and GTs, and he at the moment is 7th fastest. But every time one looks at the timing screen, the lap times are coming down. They've learned well through the course of their 2 sessions. One just before lunch and one just after lunch. Fastest time for Eric Kyrol in his opening sector out of turn 9. He'll come up to the second of the 3 timing beams. Any second now on the approach to turn 10. That very brake hard for the corner. Again, that's better than his previous time down into turn 10. So the number 300 Ferrari at the moment down in 9th place. He was 7th at a blink of an eye ago. It's still Cedric Lima on top, Mario Cordoni 2nd, Nico van Dierendonck 3rd fastest, and Jean-Michel Baer, who was the first driver out on the track, and the number 12 Audi in 4th place at the moment. One car just popping into the pit lane as number 300 Eric Kyrol, who's now tumbled down to 12th place. He was 7th at the start of this lap. Where would he pop back up to? Well into the top 10, I would think, up to 4th place. 3/4 of a second down on current provisional pole time of 1 minute 50.137 seconds. Set by Cedric Lima. The big rumble going past me is Nicolas van Dierendonck into the 1 minute 49s, 1 minute 49.42 seconds. He's 7/10 clear, removing one of the Pirelli banners out around the circuit. One of the hoardings is the Coach Mackenzie, tiger striped, if you will, Lamborghini from HP Racing, who was 9th fastest at the time, and just at the start of the lap he's whipped around. Car slow, also reported as being slow on track from turn 10 at the 16 corner circuit. That's Jean-Paul Buffin in his Audi. So no damage done, but Coach Mackenzie sitting there spun. Just removed one of those Pirelli braking boards, if you will, not supposed to be used for that purpose, but clearly no damage at all that can be spotted on the front of the Lamborghini Gallardo. Now the newer Huracan, this is from ex-Bionic Racing Team, and Cedric Lima was top. He's now 2nd fastest, not improving this lap, but the driver who's toppled him, in fact for a red flag, he spotted the red flags, that's why he's backed off. Just to point out that Nicolas van Dierendonck, who's topped by now only 0.2 of a second, Cedric Lima after Lima improved in the ex-Bionic Lamborghini Huracan. Van Dierendonck was going faster and faster, but the red flag has flown. The clock is stopped with just over 11 and a half minutes, this 20-minute qualifying session to be done. It shouldn't be a long delay because it's just while the Pirelli board that's been knocked onto the circuit on the exit of turn 3 is removed, and I'm sure if I look around the circuit I should be able to spot that green Lamborghini of Coach Mackenzie. Let's have a look at the replay. Oh, it's in the background, getting it wrong. Turn 3, such a long corner, and does he touch the wall on the outside? Yes! I said there was no damage. There must be a tiny bit of damage, but would have wished he could have carried on spinning to the outside of the circuit, and I'm sure it shouldn't take long for that Pirelli marker board to be put back on board. Well, for all the drivers, they were just starting to build up to times. Lots of ever quicker times being shown up on the screen. For that now, a chance to come back in the pit lane, have a quick thought about life out on the circuit. The Circuit de Catalunya, such a tricky circuit for keeping life in your tyres, and certainly a driver who will have tyres with flat spots on them is Coach McKenzie coming in that number 17 HP Racing. Harry Prochik Racing Lamborghini into the pit lane. There was that little biff with the wall on the exit of turn 3. Relatively low speed. It certainly won't have helped those strakes on the side of the nose. So people already waiting up by pit exit, ready to go back out. And that was Michał Broniczewski, already the champion in this series. He should be first back onto track when we get back to go the remainder of qualifying. And we have, as I say, 11 and a half minutes still to run in this 20-minute session. Great looking Mercedes coming in. Big rumble from Willem Paulus de Pundert, Dutch racer, racing for HTP Motorsport, showing they don't just compete in the overall Blancpain GT series, but like many teams, they have some drivers who want to use their expertise in the Blancpain GT Sports Club. So gunmetal with dark blue stripes, great looking livery, and also good to see Ferrari's painted colours other than all red. It's quite a variety of those up and down the length of the pit lane. Number 55 looking very attractive with the blue livery. 65, I beg its pardon, that's Kessel Racing Alexis de Bernardi. So the board being put back into place. Little mark on the wall where the Lamborghini had its clash, but it wasn't too heavy, and I think you can see the heat haze over the pit lane as the teams sit here waiting to be given the signal to go back out, but they're definitely keen to get back out racing again. No, well, not racing, qualifying, but it was like a race. They were chipping away at their times very comprehensively indeed. And the mark at the moment's in the hands of, we've got 2 cars under 1 minute 50, 1 minute 49.426 seconds set by Nicolas van Dierendonck in his Chevrolet Corvette. And then Cedric Lima, ex-Bionic Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan, first appearance in the championship, and he goes second fastest. We talked of championship claimant, because he's got it, he's done the deal. Number 11, Michał Broniczewski, there's his car sitting at pit exit, hasn't gone out, hasn't set a flying lap. Well, he did go out, he set, but no flying lap. We've got 22 of the 26 runners having set flying laps, and the others yet to do so. Still time of plenty, and for Michał Broniczewski, he can do it. There you can see the Corvette C6 ZR1 topped by just over a quarter of a second. Then it shows how far clear the third place car, number 49, as we go green again, is just over a second away from the Corvette's pace. So the clock is ticking again. 11 minutes remaining in this session. Is that best lap of 1 minute 49.426 seconds the one that's going to be good enough for pole position? No point for pole, however. The qualifying race tomorrow morning, the top 6 finishers will get points. 8 for the winner, 6 for second place, then 4, 3, 2, 1 for third place through to 6th. Now for all of these drivers, it's about finding a gap out on the circuit. Just saw Pierre Filioni in one of 2 very attractive blue Santalok Racing Audi R8 LMS Ultras. Mario Cordoni, that white Ferrari with the blue bonnet and yellow roof, number 49. He is third fastest, a second away from the ultimate pace. And look how these drivers are almost on top of each other. They need to work their way clear. Mario Cordoni has now done just that. And you remember the Flying Tigers? Well, we've got the teeth. These look more like shark teeth on the nose of the 177 Kessel Racing Ferrari. So well done, Fons Chatelma. We'll be able to spot you coming. And I think for those around, they will give you as much space as your teeth encourage them to give. So 177, very easy to pick out on the headshot. Still cars leaving the pit lane well inside the second half of this 20-minute qualifying session. Track conditions absolutely perfect, but such a difficult circuit, it really takes the life out of the tyres. So for some of the drivers, the sweet spot on their tyres might have been just as that red flag was flown after Coach McKenzie went round and clipped the wall on the exit of turn 3, but all seems fine out on the track. It should be another lap until we start seeing flying laps. These are just completing their lap out of the pits. Number 11, Michał Broniczewski, already the champion, but thus far yet to put a flying lap up onto the screen. All 26 runners have been out onto the circuit, and I think, in fact, Got about 3 in the pit lane at the moment, including the fastest of all, Nicholas van Direndonck, waiting to go back out. Likewise, Coach Mackenzie having that number 17 Lamborghini looked at after its clash with the wall. And car number 46, the Artega Rennsport Ferrari. Ren White 1, Klaus-Dieter Frères, also in the pit lane, as is number 9, JPB Racing, Jean-Paul Bouffin, his number 9 Audi in the pit lane. So they're not going to be improving their times sitting in the pits. Those out on the track have got a fighting chance of doing so. No flying lap, as I said, from number 11, Michel Bronicheski. Is he going to show them how it's done? Well, if he wants to go on to pole position, he has to get below 1 minute 49.426 seconds. And the best way to do that is to pick up your fastest first sector of the lap. He really wants his times to be purple on green, which have been fastest of all. But let's see, can he get below 1 minute 50 to join Cedric Lima in the Lamborghini and the 63 Chevrolet Corvette of Nicholas van Direndonck. 2 wins to his name in the championship this year for Michel Bronicheski at Brands Hatch and at Spa-Francorchamps. Will he be adding a pole to that tally? Just waiting for number 11 to register that first flying lap of its session. Still waiting. Now it comes past the pits. Where in the top will it get in the top 3? Into third place it does, just outside the 1 minute 49. It's 1 minute 50.133. So it's still Nicholas van Direndonck. Cedric Lima in the Lamborghini 963, there it is. He's just over a quarter of a second down in second place, but the first flying lap from this year's champion, Michel Bronicheski, has put him third behind this duo. Is it going to be an improvement from the Lamborghini? Not in the first sector. He's down by about a quarter of a second on his best. Out around the circuit, trying to stay on the black stuff. And then whipping up the hill goes Cedric Lima, still in second place, waiting to see his second sector time being completed, but he's got some way to go towards that. So still that target time, 1 minute 49.426 seconds. Through turn 9, not too wide, that's the key. Don't run too far over the curbs. The 963 Lamborghini comes down the hill to end the second sector. No, this ain't a quick lap. This has got a lot of time to be found in it. It's his outlap. Sorry, it's the one after his outlap. He's done his outlap following that brief red flag period. Still time on the clock, as you can see, nearly 6.5 minutes, but this won't be an improvement from Cedric Lima. Still sitting on second place time, but the car chasing him, Michel Bronicheski, number 11, Kessel Racing Ferrari, has got his personal best in Sector 1, his personal best in Sector 2, whereas for Lima, he's been faster on previous laps. Coming around to complete the lap, but it won't be enough to move him up to pole position, and in fact, he stands in danger of Michel Bronicheski getting past him on this next lap, waiting to see what speed the number 11 Ferrari can cross the start-finish line in. Will it be a lap that's quick enough? He's into the third and final sector, looking for number 11. Here he comes. Is it going to be enough to go into second place? No, he slowed down right at the end of the lap. He's improved his time, but he's 0.621 of a second out. So it's still van Direndonck from Lima. And the driver there, Michel Bronicheski, already crowned this year's champion at the 4th of the 5 rounds. Such has been his dominance in the Blancpain GT Sports Club. Just over 5 minutes remaining, and Nicholas van Direndonck, 2.277 of a second clear, and he's happy enough to sit in the pit lane. He doesn't think others can beat him, or maybe if they can, not too many, so he'll be starting at the front end. But let's not count our chickens before they've hatched. Just waiting to see who else can lay down a challenge. Daniel Vogt in his dark-coloured HP Racing Mercedes is going to see what sort of time he can manage, but thus far not at the very sharp end of the field. In 8th place overall. Improvements up to 5th place, the 93 entry from Baporo Motorsport, new to the championship. Jaime Fontcasas, Spanish racer, the blue and red Ferrari, he is up to 5th. He's one of the few to improve at the top end very recently. Down the slope, still now up into 7th place, place gained by number 18, the driver Daniel Vogt from Liechtenstein in his SLS Mercedes. And the ones with the big gull wing doors, enormous rear wing. Now our provisional pole sitter is sitting in the pit lane. Is he just keeping an eye on the screen? being told what to do. Will he go out? But the clock is ticking down. If he doesn't go out in the next 30 seconds or so, he's going to struggle to really get round to set a flying lap before the flag comes out. 89 out on the circuit, but not at the very sharp end. That's Maurice Ritchie for ACA ASP. Here's the AMG GT3, the newer model. Staying wisely off the curb through turns 14 and 15. Cars get very unruly through there if you clatter the first curb. In particular, we saw a lot of the runners in the Blancpain GT series doing that, trying to eke out a faster time. And now we have a challenge to pole position because 963 beautifully picked up there. The ex-Bionic Lamborghini has just set the fastest first sector of all by about a tenth of a second from the best achieved by the Corvette, which is still sitting in the pit lane. So Nico van Dierendonck, there he is. Will he remain on pole position? We're into the final 3 minutes of this 20-minute qualifying session. And for Cedric Lima, first appearance in the championship for ex-Bionic Racing Team with their new Lamborghini Huracan, looking very good. Let's look, well, will their second sector time be not so good? Has the time slipped away? They're trying to make up 0.3 of a second. I'd suggest they lost almost 0.3 in that middle sector, but they still hold the fastest first sector time. And this track, very much a track of 3 parts. But if he can be handy through these next few corners, turn 13, going through the right-hander, down the hill, then 14 and 15. If he can be tidy, the Swiss driver, not too bad over the curves, a little bit deep into turn 15, but it's about whether the car's balanced, how soon you can get the power on for that final sweep. 2.5 minutes remaining until the checkered flag comes out. The target time, 1 minute 49.4 something. Let's see if he can topple that. I don't think he's quite done it this lap. 1 minute 49.8, so he was slower in the middle sector, even slower in the final sector. A good lap, still. That's the third fastest lap of all, but still pole with the Corvette that sits in the pit lane. Just over 2 minutes to go. Flash of the lights. Thank you very much for staying out of the way as I turn to start another lap, says Cedric Lima. The 300 Ferrari, Eric Kyrol in 6th place at the moment, just under 1.5 minutes away. Corvette won't go out. It won't have time to get round to start a flying lap. Might as well save the rubber life. Cross your fingers and hope you can stay on pole position. The driver who's third in the charts, Michel Pronocheski, likewise sitting in the pit lane. So if anybody can go to the top, it could be number 300, Eric Kyrol. He's improved, but only by, we're dealing in hundredths of a second. He's 1.385 seconds off the ultimate pace. He might gain a place or two. He won't be going for pole. Mario Cordoni in 49 doesn't improve that time around, but he's got a chance. He's just over 1 second away. So it's Van Dierendonck for the Chevrolet. Lima in the Lamborghini. Best of the Ferraris is Michel Pronocheski sitting in the pit lane. Second best of the Ferraris is the 49 car, Mario Cordoni, looking great in that white, blue and yellow livery, AF Corsa. He won the opening round at Misano, has had a very mixed time since. We can't rule out Daniel Vogt. He was 7th not so long ago. We've just had an improvement from Jean-Michel Baer, and that's pushed Vogt down into 9th place overall, just ahead of Maurice Ritchie. Mercedes together, but it's Chevrolet at the front into the final minute. A wonderful roar of that SLS AMG Mercedes. Down the slope it goes. Will it improve its time? That's through the final corner. Daniel Vogt, don't think he will. He said his fastest first sector time, but not his fastest second and third. The clock is ticking down. Has Van Dierendonck done enough? What is Eric Kyrol doing this lap? No improvements from him. Very few green times, which means driver improvements at the top end of the order. Number 18, Daniel Vogt, nothing, hasn't got to the first timing sector. Into the final half minute before the checkered flag will be waved. But if anybody can steal pole position, it's the driver of number 963 Lamborghini Huracan, is Cedric Lima, the Swiss racer. How much clear track is it? Well, he's backed off and he's let the blue and red Ferrari come through, which is Jaime Foncasas, Vaporo Motorsport, making their debut in the championship. 488 is Patrick Van Klabbeke. He's 8th fastest. There's the checkered flag. Van Klabbeke flashing past. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. Close to his best, but no improvement. 49 sweeping around towards the end of the lap. Sector 1, no improvement. Sector 2, no improvement. Sector 3, sadly, no improvement. Eric Kyrol, his gun has been spiked. He's crossed the start-finish line as well. So this driver sitting in the Chevrolet Corvette, Nico van Dierendonck, will it be enough for pole? You'd have to say it will be. Haven't seen much of the Renault RS01. That's in the Extra Cup class. Car number 69. Not at the sharp end of the field at all, I'm afraid. Not in the top 10. Unless he can pull something right off at the end, and he just gets into the top 20. Improves on his last lap to go 20th. So, with the checkered flag out, only a handful of cars still to come round. It looks though pole position is going to belong to Nico van Dierendonck. Ooh, almost running off the circuit, car number 25, just a puff of dirt, just running that little bit wide out of the final corner. That's Philippe Sonen down in 24th out of 26 places. Still pushing for time, the blue and red Ferrari of Jaime Fontcasas. 93 is fifth fastest at the moment, but he hasn't improved in his first two sectors. That is the story around here. Your tyre life is good only for a few laps, and then you really struggle and the handling just goes away. But for Van Dierendonck, that is pole position in the 63 Chevrolet Corvette. 963. Cedric Lima is second. Any late improvements? Konrad Ulrich, no improvement for him, and he comes across the finish line in the 51 Ferrari in 12th place overall. Car 1-1 didn't see a great deal of Stephen Earle. He was quite late out. He finishes sort of mid-grid, if you will, 14th out of the 26 runners, but there is Nicolas van Dierendonck. Job very well done indeed. So 63 for Celeslao Racing Team. Corvette C6 ZR1, that's the fastest time of all. What was the margin? 0.277 of a second. For a lot of the drivers, when we had that brief red flag, that was possibly when their tyres were at their very best. They had to come back to the pits and then do an outright lap, and by the time they'd done that, it was that much further into the life of their tyres. Such a critical circuit for tyre life, the Circuit de Catalunya. But there, by just over a quarter of a second, pole position, Celeslao Racing Team, Nicolas van Dierendonck, Cedric Lima, Exbarnik Racing Team Lamborghini, and then Michel Bronicheski, this year's champion, is third fastest. Mario Cordoni, already a race winner this year, just over a second away. And then new to the championship, great run there from Jaime Fontcasas, fifth on home ground in Spain. And the great thing is, such has been the growth of the Blancpain GT Sports Club. 13 cars here last year. This time we need to go to timing screen number 3 to get up to the 26 runners who came out to play, doubling the championship grid in the space of 12 months. Shows as we reach the end of the final round of the second series of the GT Sports Club that Blancpain is bringing another championship up and up and up the rankings. This, of course, are the bronze amateur drivers, and they performed very well indeed. Here are the highlights of qualifying, and the greatest highlight of all, there was the flame kicking out of the side of that wonderful rumbling Corvette. And Nico van Dierendonck was confident enough, particularly when that red flag came out, that he'd done enough to take pole position, just over a quarter of a second clear. Mario Cordoni tried his hardest in the 49 Ferrari from AF Corsa, ended up down in 4th place. This is why we had the red flag. There goes the Pirelli marker board, and unfortunately collecting it was Coach McCanty. Just went a little bit wide out of turn 3, came across a little bit of front end damage to the Lamborghini Gallardo, but the newer Huracan was absolutely flying in the hands of Cedric Lima. He got close, but just couldn't get any more life out of his tyres, and he ended up second fastest overall. 25 doing its hardest to pick up time. Traffic in the way for Louis-Philippe Sonen. Well, there's a chance to see which livery you prefer. Certainly you'd say the one that works better in contact is the number 5 livery of Claude-Yves Gosselin. But as much as the Ferraris tried, qualifying belonged to Chevrolet and Nicolas van Dierendonck.